The most important lesson I give to my students from the first years is to be critical. This is actually the basics of the discipline of history. This has to become your DNA. As a historian, it has to be part of yourself. So every time you get a piece of information, the first thing that you ask yourself is, where does it come from? I am Magali Rodriguez, professor of history at KU Leuven. I moved from Ecuador to the United States when I was 18, but my idea was always to come to Europe, and Belgium was actually a coincidence. It was a family, a Flemish family, who I met in Ecuador, and they opened their doors to me, and then I started to study history, and then it became a passion, and I ended up staying in Belgium. History is about two things. First is about the past as such, and the second part is to understand the present. In order to understand current problems, we go back to the past in order to analyze why we ended up in the way that we are doing now. I think that politicians are becoming more and more interested in the work that we do because history keeps coming back in the media. The recent crisis that we have had on Corona, for example, I think that until a few months ago, nobody had heard about the Spanish flu. And now the Spanish flu keeps coming back. So, and how did the people do it in the 1920s? So history, people are realizing that history is important to understand the present, and historians are therefore also more relevant for authorities. The Master in History is interesting for students from all over the world because of our interest, our specialization in global international issues. If you follow our Masters, you can study a phenomenon from the Middle Ages up to date. Our team is also very international, so I think it's a nice way to get acquainted with a global perspective in history. We are also very close to Brussels, only 20 minutes by train, a very cosmopolitan city where you have so many archives where you can do research, but also here in Leuven you have several archives, documentary centers where you can do your research. On master's level, I teach 3 courses. One I co-teach is History of Migration, Subalternity and Postcolonialism. The second course is on oral history, where the international students can conduct interviews, for example, with family or friends in their own home countries, thanks to the internet. And the third course that I'm responsible for is the research seminar. The research seminar is meant to guide the students in order to produce a good piece of historical writing by the end of the year. I think the kind of information that you and I receive on a daily basis are historical sources. And how is the future historian going to deal with that immense amount of sources? That's, I think, a big challenge.